Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and I hope all of you are doing really good. So I have brought you a series on Gen AI where I would be teaching you the theoretical as well as the practical part, but I would be focusing more on the practical part, okay, so that you don't feel lag behind. So let me first tell you what Gen AI is. So Gen AI is basically a branch of artificial intelligence that focuses on creating the new data similar to the data it has learned from. So Gen AI basically learns the patterns from the existing data and generates the realistic content, okay. For example, like in the traditional programming, you give input, the logic is there and you get the output, but this is not the case in the generative AI. In the generative AI, you give the data, there is some learning patterns, and the new data is basically generated. Okay, let me give you an example for this. For example, if my generative AI model is trained on the poems, it can write new poems, and if my model is trained on code, it writes a new code. Okay, so the output could be text, image, video, audio, code, anything. So let me just tell you first how can you create an API key. So just go into a Google Chrome or any browser, just type in Google Gemini AI Studio. You will land on a page like this, and then you have to just click on the first link and you will end up on a page like this. You just have to click on get started, and on the left hand side you can see the get API key option. Just click on that, and from here you can create a new API key. Just click on create new API key, select your project. If you have not any project, click on create project, okay. Then click on create key. Your new key will be generated. You can copy the key while it's generated, or you can just click on this copy API key, and your API key would be copied. Now let's just get into our Google Colab notebook. Click on this API key option and click on this add a new secret, and paste your copied API key into the value section and give it a name. Make sure you use the same name in the notebook which you are giving here, otherwise it would cause an error, okay. So I have given the name as Google underscore API underscore key. Now let's just jump into our notebook. For first we have to install the basically Google Generative AI package, okay. So for that we would be using a Python package manager, and we would be just upgrading it to the latest version, and then it will install the Google's client SDK, okay. And this SDK basically acts as a wrapper over your REST API, and instead of manually sending the HTTP requests, this library format the request, sends them to the Google servers, and then pass the responses. So I have just written pip install -u Google Generative AI. What this will do is, the pip is basically a Python package manager. -u will upgrade it to the latest version, okay. So here we are not running the AI locally, but this code is calling the Google's cloud hosted models. Now since we have installed the package, now let's just import our libraries without any delay. For that we would be writing import google.generative AI as Gen AI. So we would be using Gen AI as the name wherever we want to use the Google's generative AI library, okay. And then we would be writing from google.colab import user data. So what this will do, Gen AI is basically the abstraction layer over your API endpoints, and user data is basically your secure key value storage in the Colab. And why does this user data matters is because it prevents the API key leakage, and it keeps your notebook basically shareable. Yeah. What tip is that in the production systems, this would be replaced with the environmental variables or the secret managers. Now let's just configure our API key. We have added our API key, and I have shown you that how you can create your API key and add your API key. So just to make sure that I don't get error, what I do is I will just click on this key, and I will just double click on this name, and I will copy the name from here only, so that I don't get any error in the future. So I will just paste that here, Google API key, and then we would be writing user data dot get, and then in bracket again that pasted name, okay. And then after that Okay, yeah, and then after that we would be writing GenAI dot configure and then bracket open API underscore key and then your same name. Okay, make sure you give the same name as you have given to your API key. So what this does is user data dot get will fetch the key from the encrypted storage, and the GenAI dot configure will set the global authentication basically. Okay, so every request now includes the authorization header and the API key token. So your backend flow would be something like okay, let me write that here also. So there would be your code which you will give, and your code will then go to the SDK, and from the SDK your code will go to the HTTP request. The HTTP request basically would be sent to the Google server. Okay, so let me write that here, Google server, and then from the Google server it will then go to the Gemini model which we have selected, and in that we will receive our response as output. So like without authentication the model will reject every request. Okay, so for now we have like configured a key. Now let's just list the available models, like it sends a request to the API and it returns various models. So we have to just filter the model that support the text generation, and also to avoid the common error which is model not found. Okay, so for that I would be just writing the for loop for m in GenAI dot list underscore models. So what this will do, it will scan all the models in the GenAI list and it will give me. Okay, then I am saying that if the generate content is there in generate content in m dot supported okay, it's written here generation method. Okay, so I'm saying if there is generate content in any of the models, then print. Now we have to print it nicely, no? So we would be writing model and then this colon, and then we would be writing the name of the model. So for that I would be writing it in curly bracket m dot name, because I have given run the for loop and I given this m in. Okay, so it will take some time. So basically each model has some capabilities, limitation, pricing tiers. So think of it like models like different engines, like some engines are fast, some are powerful, and some are specialized. Okay, so models are like that only. So this would take a little bit of time and we would be getting an output of all the models that are present in the GenAI list model. See, we have got an output. So there are various models there. Some are like Gemini 2. Flash, we have Gemini 2. Pro, we have that Flash 001, and the model which we would be using would be, I think, yeah, Gemini Flash latest. Okay, so let's just initialize a model. For that we would be storing the model in a constructor. So model equals to GenAI dot generative model, and then we would be using the Gemini Flash latest. Okay, let me see, this would have been listed here also, I guess. Okay, let me just copy this name and paste it here just to save some time. So what it will do, no, it will create a client side object and it will bind it to a specific model endpoint. So behind the scene what is happening, no, like no AI is loaded locally. It just stores the model name, the configuration, and the API routing info. So we have various models. Okay, we have Gemini Flash, Gemini Pro, and advanced models. So Gemini Flash is basically fast and the cheap model. Gemini Pro is the balanced one, and the advanced models are basically more accurate. So choosing a model is like choosing a CPU versus the GPU versus the supercomputer. As we have seen our model, let's just give it a prompt. So giving a prompt is also an art. So we would be writing prompt equals to, let's write a short quote on learning. Okay, so write a short inspiring quote about learning. You might be wondering, like, I would have written just write a short note, but I have written inspiring intentionally, because a prompt is basically instruction plus context. So we have to list basically three things. We have to list the task, the tone, and the domain. So write is basically the task. Okay, and my tone is inspiring, so I have written inspiring purposely. So tone is inspiring and the domain is learning. So the model doesn't think, it predicts the next tokens based on the input. So the better prompt you give, the better output you get, and the garbage prompt you give, the garbage output you get basically. Okay, now as we have given the prompt, we are done with the prompt. Now let's just generate the content. We have given the prompt. Okay, now we have to generate the content. So for that we would be writing response equals to model, let me write that, model dot generate content underscore content. Okay, remember this, you have to write generate underscore content and then the prompt which you have given. So what it will do now, it will basically, the prompt is getting tokenized, and this tokenized prompt is then sent to the model, and then the model predicts the next token step by step, and it only stops when the max tokens are reached or the stop condition is met. Let me write the actual pipeline also for you so that you are not confused later. So what the actual pipeline is, you give a text. Okay, actual pipeline, oh I just hit shift and enter. Yeah, it you just give a text. Okay, and your text is then converted to basically tokens. Okay, now your tokens are nothing but the neural network basically. Okay, so the neural network, and then from the neural network, the tokens are gone to the probability distribution, and then from the probability distribution we get the output tokens distribution, and then the output tokens, and then the output tokens are then converted back into the text. So it basically uses the transformer architecture, and based on the probability of the next word. Okay, so the model is not basically thinking, it's like predicting the most probable next word like thousands of times per second. Now as we have given the basically the content, we have like generated the content, now it's time to basically access our output. So for that we would be just printing our result. So for that we will be writing print response dot text, as the response is the thing in which the generated context is stored. Okay, so see how beautiful it is. It has given a code like learning is the bridge between who you are today and who you have the potential to become tomorrow. So well said. Okay, so it's basically a structured object. Okay, so in this command response dot text is basically the generated output, like the metadata can be like tokens, safety filters, etc. So it's like sometimes the response could be empty also and truncated also. You just have to give the right prompt and execute it properly. Now that we have generated a simple code about learning, now let's just move on to some advanced things so that you can also get fun of it. Okay, trying new things basically. So we will be generating basically YouTube script. Okay, so for that I'm giving some prompt, YouTube prompt. Now let's just quickly write the prompt. See here also I have given a detailed prompt like create a detailed YouTube video script outline on the Gemini. Okay, so created basically the task, detailed is the tone, and this video script is basically the domain. Okay, so like you are now using AI for the structured output. See है ना, you are using the multi-step reasoning and the content generation. So we have to similarly generate the response also. For that we would be writing response is equals to model dot generate. Let me just copy it from here only just to save some time, as we have to give the same command only. So generate content, and then bracket open, and then the YouTube prompt which we have written. So YouTube prompt and then bracket close, and we just run this cell. Okay, let me just remove that Gen AI. Let's see what it prints. Now let's just print our output, print response.text, and see how beautifully like it has generated a whole video script, like from the hook to the intro to the actionable steps, foundation. It has given each and everything. So basically if you have the long prompt, you have the basically better control, because long prompt includes the role, the format, the sections, the constraints. So always instead of writing create script, you can write it as act as a YouTube educator and create a structured script with timestamp. So just play around this the code and generate very exciting and fun content. So just I would say just play around this code. Okay, so that you can get a gist of it and you enjoy coding. Okay, Like most tutorials, stop at running code, but if you understand this flow now, you can build real AI products. So if you like the content of this video, just like this video, subscribe my channel, and do not forget to hype my video. Let's meet you in the next video of the Gen AI. Where we would be running such codes, exciting codes, and we would be just practicing the Gen AI, no more theories and all. Let's make the learning fun. So meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.